This is a show about stepping out of your comfort zone. It's about leaving the main quest line for a minute to see what you're made of. It's about learning who you are and how many different ways you can have eggs for dinner in a week. We're setting off on a journey, and we want you to join us.
That's right. You heard it here first. It's time for Side Quest. This show, man, we started a week ago. We've done our first challenge. And if you're unfamiliar with it, if you're new, show's all about you guys and sort of us, but mostly you guys. Because you decide what we do. You tell us what our next challenge is. And after that, we go off and do them together. We go on a journey. And last week was our premiere, and I couldn't be more satisfied with the level of participation from our audience, from our friends that joined us here. By the way, I guess you should introduce us. I'm Steven, joined as always by the amazing, the incredible, the Jacob, and the amazingly talented he who paints miniatures, TV's Travis.
Hello.
Yes, yes,
Is that
yes.
going to be your new name? He who paints miniatures.
I mean, look, I've been called worse. So
There's nothing
Yeah,
wrong
fine
with
with
that.
that. No, not at
Nothing-
all.
I love painting miniatures. Actually,
I do too. I haven't done it in a week, and I'm kind of feeling withdrawal, but I got annoyed with my whole setup over there, so I walked away from it for a few days.
That's the best thing about having a hobby. If the conditions aren't perfect, you're like, well, never mind this thing for a minute.
Yeah, pretty much.
This is
Well,
disappointing.
I had a week, so
Sure. Oh, sure. Absolutely. But you've had a follow-up week with some pretty good food, I would say.
Mhm. Oh,
We
definitely.
have, ladies and gentlemen, we have gone on a culinary world tour. We have done what
Yeah.
you asked. We have ventured into the world outside of what America and found other food to eat from other cultures, and we're all really excited about it to talk to you about it. So if you're joining the show for the first time, that's what we did. We set out to make 4 meals that we have not made before or have not mastered before, and they had to be from a country or culture other than our own, which for some of us was a big stretch, for some of us was less of a stretch, but still an exciting adventure to go on. So to kick it off, I'd like to talk about what we cooked and what we learned about it. And Travis, I'm going to let you start us off with what you cooked. And while you talk about it, I'm going to try and find your pictures to put on the video of some of the things you're talking about.
Sure. So I ended up doing 3 dishes prior to tonight. I actually have a fourth one I'm gonna do because I've got everything for it and the chicken is already thawed, so it's gonna happen. But I wanted to try a few different things that I a couple of them I'd been meaning to do for a little while because I'd seen videos on. And then another one was actually offered or brought to me by my friend Christina Phelan in the chat. So I started off with a Japanese dish called okonomiyaki, which is really fun to say, and it was also really fun to make. It's a pancake, but it's not a breakfast pancake. Um, it's uh, it's a pancake made with Japanese broth called dashi and flour, and then I mixed in what did I mix in there? Some pickled ginger, cabbage, and shrimp. And the shrimp I actually poached in the dashi as well. So I made dashi for the first time, which is really simple. Um, and then I poached the shrimp in that. I mixed everything together, and I made this pancake with some strips of bacon on it. Fried that on the griddle, and then topped it with 2 sauces. One was a mayo sauce called Kewpie mayo, and the other one was just a I guess it's called okonomiyaki sauce, at least from the recipe that I had, which was it was ketchup based. It had like Worcestershire and other kind of stuff like that. It's fantastic. I'm gonna make that again. I'm going to keep those 2 sauces around all the time. I may never use regular mayo again. Because this was like it was mayonnaise with a little bit of mustard, a little bit of sugar and salt, and like a touch of hot sauce in there. It's so good, just amazing. So yeah, thank you, Christina, for bringing that one to my attention, and I highly recommend those. And they're not difficult. I make it sound harder than it really was to make because a lot of stuff you can do ahead of time. The sauces you can make ahead of time. Half of the pancake stuff you can do, like dashi. If you like Japanese cooking, um, is in just about every Japanese recipe. If it's not, cooked in dashi. It's like soaked in it prior to being cooked. So
Is that
yeah,
the
that one was
sauce that
really, really
you
good.
that you said you could eat off a shoe?
No, that was the okonomiyaki
Oh, okay.
sauce.
Oh, okay.
That was the
Da-
ketchup kind of. It's almost like Japanese barbecue sauce is kind of what I would
Mm.
equate it to, but so much better.
They looked really good.
It was
And I wish I could
quite
find
good.
the
And
picture. I was trying to throw them up on the screen, but for some reason it won't show yours. It's like showing everybody's pictures but yours, which is
that's weird.
disappointing.
yeah,
Um,
Stephen dashi is like mainly what they use for broth, and because
yeah,
I used it in ramen, and
Oh,
it's
okay.
usually it's some broth based, liquid based. So
yeah, and that was the
shiitake
actual like
mushrooms are
that.
typically in it,
Yeah,
and seaweed and other things.
so that was the only specialty ingredients I really had to get for that particular dish was dashi is made with three ingredients for just straight dashi. It's water. It's a dried seaweed called kombu, and then you use what's called bonito flakes, or it's also called katsuobushi. It's a dried fish that's been shaved into these little flakes, and so you steep the kombu in hot water, not boiling, but hot water, and then you add the bonito flakes to it after it's steeped for a little while, and you strain it out, and you have dashi, and it's a very simple flavor, but it's like the basis for so much because you can add in dried mushrooms, you can make miso soup, hot and
Mm.
sour, not hot and sour, maybe I don't know, but you can use it for just about anything. It's really really good stuff. So yeah, that was the first thing I tried making for this little world tour. I went to Japan and oh, it was good. So, and then not on purpose, I managed to do two different egg-based dishes that are essentially breakfast that I had for dinner. And I like breakfast for dinner anyway. So
Sure.
I went to Turkey and made uh it's called chilber, I believe is possibly how it's pronounced. I have no idea if that's right or not. But it was fried eggs, and you can do the eggs basically any way but scrambled for this.
Hmm.
Scrambled just doesn't quite work for it. You can poach them, fry them sunny side up, however you want. But you use I made a Aleppo pepper butter. So just melted some butter, put a little cumin and Aleppo pepper, which is it's a pepper that's used a lot in Mediterranean and Middle Eastern cooking. It's a dried pepper. It kind of reminded me a little bit of ancho chili.
Hmm.
So if you can't find Aleppo or you really like ancho, you could certainly use that.
Is
But it's just
that a hot
dried.
chili or is that a flavorful chili?
It's really flavorful. It wasn't very hot at all.
Yeah. Okay.
But what you do, it's dried, and so once the butter melts and starts to pop a little bit in the pan, then you throw the pepper in there and you let it steep, and
Okay.
so it infuses into the butter. And then the other component of it was a Greek yogurt based sauce with a bunch of garlic and dill and salt. Basically, were the main ingredients in that. So you put some of the yogurt sauce down, lay some eggs on top of it, top it with your butter, and there you go. That's chilber, and it was killer. It's one of those where it's like it's a really high calorie breakfast. It's the type of thing that you would you're going to go out and work the yard for a while. You have this for breakfast. Because it definitely, with the yogurt and the eggs and the butter, it's heavy, but man
Yeah.
was it tasty. Oh, and toast. Definitely have to have it with toast.
Yeah.
And then tonight I actually made another. It's kind of a North African, I believe, is where it originated, but it's all over same region as Turkey, and it's shakshuka, which
Oh, that
is
looked good. The pictures of
yeah,
that looked tasty.
yes. So that's onions and bell peppers and some jalapeno. Cook all that down and add in crushed tomatoes. Let that simmer for a while with some spices, some cumin, some paprika, and whatnot. And then you poach eggs in that. So after it's simmered for a while, you kind of make a little well and you just drop eggs in there and then cover it and let them poach inside the tomatoey sauce. It's got a little bit of a kick with the jalapeno in it. Oh, that's going in a regular rotation.
And Jacob, that's
And
one
Jacob,
you
you
said you had.
mentioned,
Yeah, you
yeah.
had made that.
We make that probably every other week. It's delicious. We usually put it over rice,
Hmm.
or some kind of base, We also add little things like sometimes we'll add feta cheese to it because that gives it a nice little flavor. And yeah, it's you can make it pretty much whatever you want to as long as you've got that core ingredient, which is really tomatoes. Tomatoes is the core of that dish.
Mhm.
Love it.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it. But yeah, we make it quite often.
Well, and it's such a simple one to make too. I mean, it's first of all, onions and peppers are always going to be good no matter what. But then you put a little that jalapeno in there, so it's got this nice balance of acidic and spicy, and then the eggs are this really rich part of it.
Mhm.
And yeah, I could definitely see wanting to do it like over rice or something like that to just add a little more structure to it. I loved it. That and the okonomiyaki. I won't do the pancakes themselves all the time just because I'm lazy and I don't always like to get my griddle out. Um, but the sauce that I learned from that is something that'll be in my house all the time now.
Oh, that's
It's just
awesome. And that was the first time you'd made that sauce, right?
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
First time I'd ever tried it, and it's the type of thing I could see putting it on, a cheeseburger. I could see with like chicken nuggets. I could see it
Yeah.
with anything you want. Really, it would pair
Oh,
so
that's
well.
great. So that was three, and I know we were shooting for four. Four
Mhm.
turned out to be kind of a bigger ask than I expected it to be. So you've got another one on your list that you haven't got to yet. What's that one supposed to be?
That is a oh, I have the recipe here. It's chicken. I'm going to do it with chicken thighs, but it
Love a chicken
is
thigh.
yeah, it's called ping gai chicken. It's Laotian grilled chicken.
Ooh.
So, um it's just it's a real simple marinade, but it's got stuff like fish sauce and soy sauce and it's got your some vinegar, some lime juice, garlic, and then grill it up and
Oh, that sounds
probably
tasty.
make some rice to go with that and just
Yeah.
have chicken and rice, but a little different flavor profile. So,
Sure. That sounds really good. So you went super like Asian, or I guess not really super Asian, but you've got a couple different meals that hailed
hmm
from the Asian side of the world for sure.
and the other thing that it did was it made me think about finding more recipes that I want to try out that are outside even of what I did. And somebody tonight sent me one because I posted in a couple of other places stuff that I've been working on, and someone sent me a recipe for a Finnish salmon soup.
Ooh, I like
And I was like,
salmon.
well, I like salmon, I like soup.
Probably will
Let's
like
put them
salmon
together.
soup.
So,
Yeah,
so that's now something that I'm going to definitely try making.
that's awesome. Well, no,
So
cool.
it
Well,
got me.
yeah. So you had a good time. Challenge was appropriate and fun for you.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, I had a good time with it. It got me in to look forward to cooking. I would have made the four, except that Monday, somebody decided to turn the heat on in this part of the country,
Yeah.
and
Like legit turn the heat
Yeah.
on. It's like 95 degrees up
It's
there, isn't it?
colder in the southeast than it is where you are right now.
Mm.
yeah, and so on Sunday when I was cooking the okonomiyaki and I'm making the dashi and all of that, I've got an instant read thermometer and I'm trying to keep the water from boiling. So I'm trying to keep it around 170, 175 degrees
Hmm.
because what I read was with the kombu, if you boil it too much, it become really slimy.
Yeah,
It
yeah.
can kind of over steep. So I'm trying to keep. So I've got the instant read thermometer out, and I take it out and I dry it off, and I set it down on the counter, and I walk away, and I come back a minute later, and it's still on, and it's still reading like 87 degrees in my house.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I ended up Monday working on getting my window air conditioner in, and by the time that was done, I'm like, I can't cook
Yeah.
tonight. I don't have that in me. I'm
Well,
hot, I'm sweaty, and I'm tired.
yeah, and the good news is we kind of established that not everybody's going to be able to have a good week to do each of these challenges. So you've got, a week of grace period to try and get it
Mhm.
done. So if you're joining along in our challenges, this is the first episode of Side Quest you've heard. You've got a week to pull together four dishes from around the world or from different ethnicities that aren't your own, and put together something cool, and post pictures or share it with us, and it'll count towards your we're doing all of them with you punch card. we'll give you the punch card that says you completed challenge number 1. So you got time. You got time.
We should
Now's
do
the time to
virtual
get on it.
punch cards.
We should do virtual punch cards. That'd be cool.
That
Like you
would be kind
sign
of
up,
fun.
we just like virtually when someone,
Yeah, it's like
hey,
virtual bingo, only it's virtual punch cards.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
We'll
I
keep
like it.
track of it
That'd
for
work.
you. Yeah. So Jacob, you both are very much food guys. Like you like to cook, you like ideas. Jacob, I've known you for a very long time, and you are probably the closest person I have near me to a chef that makes tasty food. It is not a chef who makes like not good food. Some people love to cook and the food is not good. You love to cook and your food is good. So I was really excited when we started this challenge because I knew you already have a baseline of cooking experience that you were really gonna have to kind of push a little harder. Or
Yeah.
maybe even be encouraged to try something a little off the wall that you thought about but never done. So let's talk about your dishes. How did your stuff go?
So my dishes, I've got three to share with you guys. I've got a fourth that's a dessert, but I haven't finished that one yet. It's actually from the UK. I'll share pictures of it in Discord whenever I finish
Mm,
it. But um, the three that I chose from different regions. I chose one from the Caribbean, one from North Africa region, and then one from Japan. Um, I did a ramen. I did a citrus ginger tuna that I grilled, and then I made ramen and had it together. And it was just it- ramen's hard. It's real hard, and I had never really made ramen, and so this was kind of a first attempt into making ramen. And I did a couple of things right, and I did a couple of things wrong. But overall, I enjoyed the opportunity to try it. And I'm definitely going to have to do it again because I've identified mistakes I made, and I'd like to try to improve on it. But overall, I think it was good. Ashley loved it. She dug it. But um, you're always your harshest critic, right? So I thought it was pretty good. The other dish I did was a shrimp dish that was out of North Africa. Um, and that was delicious. I mean, it had a very North African spice to it, a very Mediterranean spice to it. It was supposed to be over couscous, but I decided to do it over quinoa because that's just what I had in the kitchen. And it probably turned out, in my mind, the best of the three dishes. Ashley said it was the worst of the three dishes because she's not a huge shrimp fan, but she still loved it. That's what she said. She liked all three of them. And then the last one I made today was a Caribbean dish. It was called beef palau, and this is it's kind of a homey meal. It's got a lot of rice, it's got a lot of beef, it's got a lot of heat. It's got carrots and peas, and it's stewed all day. And I mean, it's a very hearty, it's a very homey meal. And it was really good. I wish I would have actually kicked it up with more spice. Um, I think next time if I make it, I'm gonna make it with a little more spice. The other thing, and this is what I struggled with this week, was when we did this challenge, we weren't prepared for this challenge. This was a vote of the people, and so I had done my meal planning for the week already. I had
yeah.
done my shopping on Wednesday because we usually do our shopping on either Wednesday or Saturday, and last week it
Mhm.
happened to be Wednesday. So I had the entire week's worth of menu items already prepped. I've pulled, in my refrigerator, ready to rock and roll. And then we got this challenge, and I'm like, oh shoot, how do I shoehorn what I've got in the fridge into some of these dishes? So a lot of what I did, I just made work rather than actually go out and get something that was unique and specific. So I tried to match not only what I had in the fridge, but also try to couple that with new and unique recipes, which it was a little more challenging from my end because I wish I would have had a little bit more time to plan, a little bit more time to think about it. Um, the other thing I
Yeah,
realized is if oh, go ahead, Travis. I'm
I
sorry.
was just gonna say you added an extra layer of challenge in there, and you rose above it because I was looking at the pictures that you were posting, and everything looked amazing. That ramen looked great. I'm curious to know what you found the most challenging about making the ramen.
It was the
Um,
timing of it
okay.
because a lot of times what you do is I cooked all of the vegetables in the actual broth itself.
Mhm.
but you only
Okay.
cook them for a short window of time. You cook them for maybe 5 to 7 minutes, and you cook them kind of individually. And so if you have a child running around, it's probably not the best dish to try to pull off. If
No.
you're trying to get a child in the bathtub, not a good dish to try to pull off. I mean, it was challenging, maybe not necessary. If I had focus, I could. It wouldn't have been as challenging as it was. But if you lack focus, it's challenging.
Oh, I
Uh,
can I could see that if that is the case. Look great though. That
Yeah.
it, it
tuna.
The
it
tuna. I
was.
wanted to come over.
The tuna was legit. We had marinated the tuna in the citrus ginger marinade pretty much all afternoon, and then I threw it on the grill, and it just turned out really good.
Mm.
So I was that was probably the best part of that dish.
Hmm.
Um, I realized if I would have had the opportunity to do whatever I wanted, if I didn't have limitations of a child going to bed or what was in the fridge or anything like that, I would have done something like, eggs Benedict with a homemade hollandaise sauce with some fresh homemade English muffins type of thing. And I would have done instead of the palau today, I would have done like oxtail and just made like an oxtail stew that was really spicy and Caribbean. And I would have done maybe gyoza instead of ramen or something like that. But um, yeah, it was a great challenge, but I feel like I wish I would have planned a little bit better, if that makes any sense.
Well, the
It
good.
does, but I also wonder if it's something that kind of unlocked like because for me what it did was it made me think about okay, I want to stretch a little more when I am cooking
Hmm.
and think about some of the stuff that goes around the dishes. That was like the sauces from that
Yeah.
okonomiyaki or the type of thing where it's like, oh, what else could I do with this? What else could I put this on? Um, so yeah, that was one of the things for me that I really enjoyed about the challenge, and it sounds like maybe that's something for you. It was
Mhm.
kind of built in because you were taking what you had, like, okay, how can I work this?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you played Iron Chef like with your kitchen. It was like make something, and you're like, well, it can't be anything I'd normally make, but I have these ingredients.
Yep.
You're playing any like Chopped or whatever, but by yourself. You added that layer of difficulty that, like, shoot, I'd have gone to the grocery store, with recipes in hand before I did what you did.
Well, we had our spice cabinets completely stocked, so it was not hard to find the right spices, and we had lots of herbs in our fridge, so it wasn't a difficult thing from that perspective. Um, but yeah, there were just some monkey riches, and the other monkey riches that we had. When you have weekend plans already ready and established, where other people are cooking, and
Hmm.
you're going over there or you're doing other things or you've got other plans, it makes the challenge a little more difficult because a lot of times I had to rely on my evenings because my lunches just I wasn't going to find time during the workday to be able to pull this challenge off. So I had to rely on my evenings. And three of the nights I had already pre-planned with meals with other people. And so I looked at her going, well, I got 4 meals and 4 nights. Let's rock and roll, baby.
Yeah.
Yep.
The timing was definitely and like I said at the beginning, I think 4 sounded doable because you think I've got 3 meals a day, 7 days. That's 21 meals. Like I could squeeze 4 different things in there, but like really, if we are getting down to it, it's going to be dinners because nobody got time to be weird at breakfast or be weird at lunch. But you get off work, you got a little bit of time to be weird at dinner.
Oh, yeah.
Um, so that I think if I had the challenge to do again, if I wanted to successfully achieve it in 7 days, it would almost have to be 3. Because
Yeah.
more than that was going to weigh me down. Like you said, we'd already gone to Costco. We'd gone to the grocery store, like had stocked
Yeah.
up for X amount of stuff, and just had to kind of wing it. It's one of the reasons I didn't get my 4th meal done because I had to figure out grocery store. Like, am I going to go and what do I need and all that stuff. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, so that was 2, right? Did you have a third one or did we talk about it already?
The North African shrimp, the beef palau. That beef
That's it.
palau
Yeah,
today was
beef palau.
it was good.
It looked
It was
good.
very hearty. It was homey. It was. Now I understand why they're known for their stews and they're known for their hearty kind of homey meals,
Mm-hmm.
and this
Mhm.
really was one. And
Yeah.
I love Caribbean food, by the way. That's I really fell in love with it whenever I was traveling to Toronto, believe it or not, because there was a restaurant in the apartment complex that I was staying in. It was on the bottom floor. Um, and it was a Caribbean restaurant, and I ate there probably 3 times a week when I was in Toronto
Oh
for
wow.
lunches. And I got to tell you, I fell in love with that place because the people that were there were from Trinidad and Tobago, so
Yeah.
they were had cooked authentic meals. It was just absolutely delicious. So that's where I really fell in love with Caribbean food.
Yeah. Well, the palau is definitely something I want to try. Or I'll let you make for
Mhm.
me. One or the other
Yes,
because it looks super delicious. I mean, you put
hmm
rice and meat together, I'm probably in. Like
yes.
the sauce would have to be like something completely outside my flavor, my limited palate, and for me not to like it. But it looked like the jam.
Well, I'll tell you what it is. What makes Caribbean food unique. You take a little bit of oil, and in my case, I actually used beef tallow because I rendered beef tallow from the meat that I used, and I just rendered that, and I added brown sugar to it, and then
Mm.
you let the brown sugar cook, and the brown sugar turns from like this light brown color to this really dark amber color just before it gets burnt, and then you add the food to it, and that gives it kind of that unique Caribbean flavor.
Oh,
And I
interesting.
got to tell you, that you would absolutely dig it.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
yeah.
probably would have
Yeah. I
devoured
mean,
it from the looks of it.
Mhm.
brown sugar, allspice, those are the types of flavors I think of when I think of Caribbean food, so
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yep.
that's oh, I'm definitely gonna try that palau.
Yeah, it looked good. And your fourth one, you said you were doing something else coming
It's a
up.
dessert. Yeah, it's a dessert from the UK. It's actually an inspiration from the Great British Baking Show.
Oh, good.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I
Nice.
know.
Nothing
It's
wrong with
called
that.
Millionaire Bars. I was trying to make them before, and I'm excited to make them.
Yeah.
It's going to take a while, and I need some just dedicated downtime to be able to do it, but I'm going to pull it off.
Yeah, that sounds really good. And if you're interested in any of that, keep up with us on the side quests chat on our Discord at twodorks.net/discord because it was rocking and rolling this week with
It
people
was.
submitting pictures. It was super fun. Uh,
Yeah.
for me, I was real nervous about this challenge because I'm not a cook. I'm not one. I can make tacos. I can make spaghetti. I can follow a recipe, but it's not my joy. I don't
Mhm.
enjoy cooking a lot. I just it's stressful. I panic cook. Like if I'm making tacos and spaghetti, like I'm losing my mind in the kitchen trying to make sure I've got all the ingredients at the right time, and I just lose my mind. So I just kind of went out and asked some people who were from different countries what they ate, and I mentioned that was my strategy last time when we were on the show, and it worked out so well. I talked to a Caribbean friend at work, and they suggested a dish called callaloo. Callaloo is a plant, but it's how you prepare it that makes it distinctly Caribbean. And she's from Trinidad. So there's a Trinidad way to make callaloo. There's a Jamaican way to make callaloo. There's a whole bunch of different ways. And she's like, you're not going to find callaloo in the States. The plant itself, you're not going to find it. So don't try. She said, but it's very common to substitute callaloo with another plant from the same family. So spinach or kale or mustard greens or something, put that in there. She suggested spinach, so I went with it. And it was like garlic and thyme and onion and spinach and tomato, and there was some other tasty stuff in there. Cajun seasoning, dump some Cajun seasoning in there. It's covered it with lemon, and usually it's eaten with saltfish in the islands. So I made it with salmon. I know it's not the same thing, but I made it with salmon. Seafood, food, whatever. Delicious. It had a really good flavor. And I'll eat greens, but the greens got to be seasoned well, or I'll lose interest
Mhm.
very quickly. And it also has to be hot. I can't eat it once it cools off. Like no, it ain't gonna work for me. One thing I will note about the recipe: callaloo is delicious. Would do it again. A plus plus. Would use a different leaf. Spinach, when cooked in oil and stuff, can become very wilted and kind of soggy if you're
Mhm.
not careful. And I think a denser like either using kale or mustard greens would have been a more palatable like texture wise.
Yeah,
Kale
it'd
has
probably
a
hold up.
yeah, it would hold up, but kale has a flavor,
You think
and
the kale
I
would have
don't know if
overpowered a lot of that?
yeah, I don't know if so. Spinach has a flavor, but I think it's a unique flavor that would work well with what you were telling me.
Yeah.
Um, I actually think mustard greens might actually be the route to
Mustard greens
go
would
here.
probably be
Mustard greens
better.
or collard greens, one of those two
Yeah,
would
I
probably
would
be
shoot for
just
those first.
delicious.
Yeah, those would be my first choice too. The flavors you were talking about reminded me of a soup that I have made a few times that had kale in it. So I
hmm
could see it working, but I think you're right, Jacob. Mustard greens would be the first choice to go there over kale.
Yeah,
And I
it's
like
just
kale.
yeah. Like I said, that was the two other suggestions, but my gut told me mustard greens because I like mustard greens. It would be a very
Yeah.
personal thing. Like I don't really like kale, but I like mustard greens, and seasoning mustard greens it seems like a thing to do. And it was really good. It went really well with the salmon, and I was happy. Like I would make it again as a green just to go with a fish. Some people put shrimp in it, like inside the mixture and cook those up in there too, and that sounds awesome. Like if you wanted to make just a bowl.
Hmm.
But it was super great. The other thing I
Re-
got,
before
yeah,
you move on to from that, I have a
sure,
question for you.
sure,
You're one who doesn't cook very much. You've already
right,
self-identified.
yes,
Um, you try not to tackle really hard complex recipes, and this wasn't a real hard complex recipe.
no,
But
yeah.
what did you think about the actual preparation? Not how it tasted, but did you struggle with it? Did you enjoy it? Did you find yourself unlocking a potential skill that maybe you didn't think you had, or what was your thought?
It was
Hmm.
a challenge. It was a mountain to overcome, and I did not, I did not gain any joy in terms of like, OMG, I love this process. Like it was very much I have to complete this challenge. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna try not to burn it, and I'm gonna make it through. I love the result, but I didn't fall in love with cooking due to the process. Like there's a sense of accomplishment that you would
Hmm.
get, but like I hate running. But if I ran a marathon, I'd be like, heck yeah, I ran that marathon, hated every mile of it. but,
Yes,
but I did
I'm
it.
on mile 27. I'm good now.
Yeah, I'm never doing that again. But I did it. So it was like that. Like I would cook it again. But it
Hmm.
hasn't ignited some deep seated uncovered passion for cooking. If that makes sense. But that's
It
not
does.
that's not for the dish. That's just me as a person. Uh, but then I went to a few different things. Like I got some recipes from a Brazilian friend of mine. I'm like, send me some stuff that's like Brazil, and there were so many good. He sent me like a powerful list of gorgeous recipes, and I was running so low on time and so stressed over the whole process that I didn't get to do the one I wanted to do, which was a dish called guianhada, which is like a chicken and rice bowl kind of thing. He sent me recipes. He's like, we only do this every now and then, and this one is like for celebrations, like a beef stew kind of thing. It was it read amazingly, and in good hands, they would turn out great. But he sent me a couple things that I thought would be a good fun for me. One of those things was brigadeiro or brihadiero. I don't know how to pronounce it. I didn't get conference with him to ask him pronounce that word. But they're little chocolate fudge balls, and I made them with Sam, which was even more fun because I took my 6-year-old and we did them together. Simplest recipe in the world, delicious. A++ would do again. Would make it Christmas. It's basically just sweetened condensed milk, cocoa, some butter. Oh yeah, that's it. Just cocoa butter and sweetened condensed milk in a pan. You just melt it all together and you let it sit for a little while. Then you put them in. You take the chocolate, dump it into like a bowl of chocolate sprinkles, roll it around, put it in a little cup, and put them in the fridge. Come back later and you've got this morsel of deliciously rich, awesome chocolate. Um, I know that's not a complex recipe. I understand it's not a
Well, hold on.
complex
Wait, wait,
recipe.
wait, wait. We didn't say complex. We said something new and
You're
different,
right,
which
and
doesn't
it
have
Hmm.
to be
was.
complex. We even called you out and said it doesn't have to be complex.
I know.
You
I
want to know
feel
what this
bad.
reminds me of, Stephen?
Yeah.
No, 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 don't. So this is the Stephen Cook, because I
Yes.
look at what well, I look at what you are really in love with doing cooking wise. You
Mm-hmm.
love to make what's the stuff you make at Christmas just
The
before
divinity
Christmas?
candy.
Divinity candy. There it is.
Yeah.
You always make that. It's simple. You can execute it well. It doesn't take a whole lot of time. And that's the kind of cooking that I think you like. And I feel
Yeah.
like if you find 2 or 3 of those recipes, all of a sudden you're going to be like, now damn, I don't mind cooking.
Mhm.
I'll make some of these balls all the time.
You make a really solid point. I like baking a lot.
Yeah.
Divinity candy is a complicated recipe to get right, but I enjoy that challenge. I love the mixing. I love the sugar. I love the candy thermometer. I love getting everything at the right. So maybe
Yeah,
it's
that's
not
a
that
good
I
point,
don't hate
actually.
cooking. Maybe I hate cooking dinner. Maybe I love cooking desserts and pies
And I
and cheesecakes. Um,
Cheesecakes. Oh,
yeah,
you and your
yeah,
cooking.
cheesecakes.
and I wonder with that because I've had this discussion with people a lot
Hmm.
about the differences between cooking and baking. Because baking is definitely science. The baking is
Yeah,
very everything is measured, and you have to have things in the right proportions, and you have to do things at the proper temperature. Especially if you start working with sugar and you start melting sugar, you got to get it to the right
yeah,
temperature to be the right form of melted sugar to work for the type of candy you want to make. Whereas cooking, dinner is a lot more like jazz. It's sort of free form. Anything goes. You can play fast and loose, which is how I cook. I typically will read a recipe. I might make something basically the recipe, and then from there I'm going to experiment. I'm going to try. Well, what if I tried this little variation here? Oh, I don't have that, but I got this. It's close. That can go.
yeah,
Can't do that really with baking.
yeah,
You could do it with baking. You're just the results may be questionable at the end. And
Yes,
I
yeah.
will
that's probably a
question
good point.
I will question your scientific nature because I am classically trained, as Ashley would say,
True.
as a scientist. And one of my degrees is in organic chemistry, synthetic organic
Hmm.
chemistry, and that is all about let's try a little bit of this and a little bit of that and a little bit of this and see what happens. It's not a very analytical process. The science that I think baking requires is a very attention to details, the
Hmm.
analytical type of approach to it's more of a personality trait as a
Oh, sure.
because I feel like if you've got that kind of level of attention to detail, you're gonna be good at cooking or at baking. I look at Stephanie. There's a reason why Stephanie is so good at baking is because she has an attention to detail that's
Hmm.
unrivaled. So yeah, you know, I think that there is a different mentality. You're right. It's jazz versus analytical.
Yeah,
Hmm.
I am an instruction follower, and baking. If it says set the oven to 350, I set the oven to 350. When it comes to cooking, what the devil does set oven to, or stove to medium high heat even mean? What temperature is that? Is that going to burn everything in 3 seconds? That stuff makes me crazy. That's why I can't do it. It's like medium high. What the? But put it on low heat. I put it on low heat. Why is it still boiling? Like I lose it. But put the oven at 350. That oven's at 350 all day. No problem. I mean, give or take a handful of degrees. But
Sure.
generally, it's where it needs to be. So it's much more simple. It's like a cup of this, a fourth a cup of this, some of this, put it in a thing, mix it together. That's all very processed, very formulaic, very understood, repeatable. I could cook callaloo 7 times and get 7 different results.
Yeah.
Hmm.
But I can bake I can make the brigadeiro I don't know how it's Portuguese a bunch of times and always end up with the same stuff. And I think that's the part of the baking that's fun for me. But moving along to my next recipe, this one was really fun. Had no idea they existed. My Malawian friend at work, former supervisor of mine, I was like, I need a Malawian recipe. I have no idea where Malawi is. I just know you're from there. Hook me up. So he hooked me up with a recipe of umbatata. It's Malawi. I learned this. I did a lot of research on this. Malawi is known as the warm heart of Africa. It's an incredibly poor country, but it's known for the people's hospitality and friendliness. So they call it the warm heart of Africa. So they make these cookies called mbatata. They're basically sweet potato cookies, and they've shaped them into hearts to represent the heart of Africa and the friendliest of people of Malawi. So I took this recipe of sweet potato cookies, put that thing together. OMG, so good, so good. Like it's you boil sweet potatoes, you mix them up, you put brown sugar, cinnamon, flour, and some baking powder together, and you roll them out just like you would roll out cookies, and it's like it turns into cookie dough. It's amazing. You cut them out with a cookie cutter, put them on a pan, bake them for a little bit, and you end up with a really cakey, sweet treat, but not like there's no refined sugar in it. Most of the flavor comes from the sweet potato. And oh, there's
Mhm.
raisins in there too. The raisins are the jam. Like I know a lot of people are like, get my raisins out of a cookie. You're not gonna look at a batata cookie and think that you've created a chocolate chip. It's not. You're not gonna get that impression when you look at them, which is why everyone gets upset at oatmeal raisin. And I get that.
Yes,
There's
we
a
hate
reason.
oatmeal raisins. We
Yeah,
want it to be chocolate chip.
they're deceptive. You can eat one and
Yes.
you're like, dag nabbit, I thought this was a chocolate chip and it's the worst experience. But these, it doesn't come off that way. And they're very I jacked up my recipe and I gotta do it again. I this is the best part. So I was making it and I was like, this isn't gonna make enough cookies. So I ended up I tripled it. Which was a great idea, and I tripled everything else. I had to put more butter in the microwave, melt the butter, and thing is, I forgot I put the extra 2/3 of butter in the microwave. And then I put the cookies on the cookie sheet and baked them. And then I opened the microwave to
Oh,
put something away. I was like, ah, crap. I forgot 2/3 of the butter in the recipe. Stemmy's like, it's going to be fine. They might be drier and they might rise a little more than they would have. And they did. They were about a half inch thick. But so it's like eating a brownie, a little bit dry. But the flavor was great. I just need to
mm,
work on remembering my ingredients when I put them together. But it was really good. I'd recommend them to anybody. It's spelled Mbatata. And there's a few recipes out there for it, but I was real grateful for those.
Batata.
Yeah, they were really good. And then the fourth one I was gonna make that I'm still planning on making is Czech bombrok, which is a potato pancake, a savory potato pancake from the Czech Republic. From a buddy of mine there, he said it's really good. It's not good for you. Tastes delicious. I was like, that's right up my alley. I would
there
like
you
to make
go.
bombrok. The most interesting thing I got out of it though was a website he sent me. He's like, I can't find an English translation for this. But here's another dish we really like, and it was I think we translated it. It was rabbit, potato dumplings, and spinach. I think is one of it's his meal. I was like, well, I've got rabbits in the backyard, so I could make this happen.
Rabbits and a 22. That's
Yeah,
all
you
you
know
need,
it.
baby.
Bingo.
But I think overall, this challenge has opened my eyes a lot to seeking new food that we don't normally eat and how easy it is to find it when you want it. Like
Hmm.
it was cool talking to people from those countries to get their recipes and how excited they were to share them.
Hmm.
Or at least how it appeared over text. I was, they sent me all this info about them, and I really thought about it. Like if I was somebody with a culture that was in a place like I know my Brazilian friend lives in Boston, uh, and is in a place where I don't get to be around people of their culture all the time and eat the food with other people a lot. How welcoming it would be to be like, tell me some of the foods you do. I'd like to try
Hmm.
them out, and it really was a lot of fun uh, to just share and be interested in somebody else's world like that. That was cool.
Oh
Um,
yeah. Well,
A plus plus would do again.
it's kind of one of those things like, what is one of the few things that you have to do in your life? You have to eat
Yeah.
at some point. Like, it's going to happen. And so I kind of came to this philosophy a while ago, which is if you have to eat, eat well,
Hmm.
and varied up some. Like, I have my go-tos, I have my comfort foods, but it's interesting to branch out and to try something different and to go to a different part of the world for a flavor profile. I mentioned like brown sugar, allspice, thyme. That makes me think of Caribbean food. Um, and then if I start tasting ginger and like lemongrass and things like that, I start thinking about a lot of Asian food, a lot of Japanese and Szechuan and whatnot. So that was one of the things that I was most looking forward to, was trying out some new stuff. So that's why I went to that kind of North African Turkish area there, and then also jumped into Japan because they've always got good stuff to make. Um, and that was fun. And I love that you had the resources of Stephen, of being able to talk to some people that you work with. They're like from these other countries, and so you got an extra layer of things, not just the food, but also some conversation
Yeah.
out of it, which is really cool. So I'm glad that that worked out.
Yeah. I would definitely recommend, if you do work in a multicultural environment or multi global company and you have people you work with from everywhere, like totally ask them food to make. It was cool, and they were openly happy to share all these different foods, and it was super cool. So I would definitely recommend that. Learned a lot through the process,
Yeah,
and I'm glad we voted for it.
and how great is it to like from their perspective to feel like you care about something that is important to them
Yeah.
and is about them,
Mm-hmm.
because I know if I were to be approached by somebody like, hey, what's some dishes that you grew up on,
Yeah.
um all of them would come out of a can, but whatever, that's fine. Like, it's not a big deal, but it's a good talking point, and it also makes that connection. So
Sure.
yeah, that was really
Yeah.
cool.
Absolutely. It was a lot of fun. Um, would definitely do it again. I've
Hmm.
learned a lot, and I will continue to do so. But not only did we've talked forever about what we made. It was a big challenge, and there's a lot to cover, and I'm excited about it. But you guys also did participate in the challenge. One person, if there's an MVP of the audience challenge, it's Amy. Uh,
Oh yeah,
Amy
100%
just absolutely killed it. And not only did Amy
MVP.
kill it, she wrote us an email. Uh,
She did.
and I'm excited about. Travis, can you read us Amy's email?
Sure thing. All right, so this is from Amy Daniora in the chat, and she says, "So it's no secret that this quest was very much in my wheelhouse, but I tried to take it outside my comfort zone. I focused on international foods that I eat frequently, but never make for myself. I picked Chinese chicken and scallion dumplings with wrappers made from scratch.
Mm,
Show off.
ugh,
Yeah.
Uh,
that's not
Indian
easy.
No, it's not. Indian chicken korma. My apartment still smells like cardamom. And Polish pierogies. Coming soon. Real life got in the way. So real life affected all of us in this
Sure. Yeah.
challenge. Uh, I also had to give the internet favorite Japanese souffle pancakes a try. They wound up being significantly less intimidating than I thought they would be, and I picked up a couple new culinary skills in the process. As a bonus, I baked up my first ever loaf of massa cevada, Portuguese sweetbread. It's probably one of the first foods I remember eating, but as bread is not my forte, one I had definitely never attempted before. All in all, it was a delicious learning experience, and I'm very glad I voted for it.
Nice.
Um,
Nice.
yeah, I was looking at the pictures in the Discord, and all of that looked great. That Portuguese sweetbread,
Oh
uh,
my
I
gosh.
just that
I want to
looked
lick my monitor.
amazing.
Like that was insane. Like, can I eat
That one,
that?
the dumplings. I love like pot stickers and
Hmm.
Chinese style dumplings like that. I wanted those.
Yeah.
And then to make the wrappers from scratch too. Like, come on.
She gets
That's a
extra
flex right
credit.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we punch her card twice? Like, is that did she get two punches on her punch card? Because it was ridiculous. I think we were all very inspired by Amy's skill there in cooking all that stuff.
Oh yeah, Amy
Mhm.
killed it. I loved to open up Discord because I only opened up Discord a couple of times this week just because that's a couple of times more than I've opened Discord in a really long time. Um, but I loved following what Amy was doing because every day I logged on and she had something new for us, and it was
Hmm.
just fantastic. What she did today was just glorious.
Yeah, the Portuguese sweetbread was like out of left field. Like there didn't even lead up. It was just like, here's a picture of something awesome I made.
Yes.
It was
Yep,
so
pretty
great.
much.
It was so great. Definitely very skilled. So congrats, Amy, on the unofficial MVP award.
No,
Og,
no, no, no. It's not unofficial. It is
it's
100%
totally official.
official. It's official.
Got it. And in terms of the other winner of our awards would be Og as an honorable mention for making the carbonara, which I
Oh
wanted
yeah.
to
Mhm.
eat. That looked amazing. Butter chicken, which had another
Yep.
name, and I didn't write it down for some reason because it had letters in combinations I've never seen before. It was like Sport Magurka or something.
Merg Makani,
Yeah, that's it.
possibly.
Merg Makani. That will go with that. And then he had a
W-
sangria with fruit in it for one meal,
I mean,
which I think
that's
you
I
know.
I'm not sure that was out of his comfort zone, though. I mean,
No,
let's be
he looked
100%
awfully
honest.
comfortable in that
He
picture.
did. That was
That's
that was
true.
not out
Yeah.
of comfort.
Well, if you participate in the quest with us, give yourself a pat on the back and mark yourself good for having completed quest number 1. If you want to be a part of the quest with us, you still have time. You get a week of grace period, as we are all getting our own grace period to finish up our 4th dish. But if you want to share with us your thoughts on it, you can leave us a voicemail 231-486-5401. 60 seconds or less. That's 231-486-5401. We'll hear your lovely voice on the podcast telling us how it went for you. To share an email like Amy did, dearsidequest@gmail.com. Just a few short paragraphs for us to be able to read it on the show. And join us in the Discord, twodorks.net/poll, where we all, Two Dorks Nice. I just read, Jacob put the poll in the chat and I read it. twodorks.net/Discord to join the Discord, be in the side quest chat room with us, and talk about how our quests are going. So that's all done. And now, I think, you guys, it's time to pick our next challenge. Jacob
I
desperately
told
trying to
everybody in
fish.
chat they have a couple more minutes to be able to vote.
Okay.
So any last minute votes, go to the straw poll link. What's the other link? You can also go to Two Dorks /poll, right?
twodorks.net/poll. Yeah,
Yeah.
/poll.
Yep.
So while we're giving them a couple seconds, we can talk about our challenges. Jacob, face your death. What's that all about?
Oh, Lord.
Since you're so
It's
excited
about
about
faith. I'm really not. It's a challenge about getting your shit together in the event of your untimely demise. Are you ready? Are you prepared in case something happened to you tomorrow where the ones left behind who will be grieving are going to be in a position to handle that. That could be one way. It could be there's a whole bunch of different ways, and I'm kind of looking forward to what people's take on this is going to be.
it.
But that's definitely one: is face your death.
Yeah, Travis, what's our other challenge?
Our other challenge is cleaning up a park or road, which is getting out, finding a spot nearby, a stretch of road, a little roadside park, a beach, something, and put some gloves on, get a poking stick, and clean up because humans are dirty.
Humans are
We,
gross.
we leave
Uh,
stuff
We are.
everywhere.
yeah.
It's
So
wrong.
there's your two. I think it's about time we call it, Jacob. Uh, we've got 13 whole votes. Everybody in the chat, I believe, has voted. Unless somebody comes in sideways, we're gonna bing. We're facing our deaths. We are going to put this together. Thank you, everyone who voted. This is
Yes.
your quest for the
Yeah,
next
this
week,
is your
should you
quest.
choose to accept it. Jacob has to. But everybody else, should you choose to accept it, get your stuff together. And I would like to preface this, because there's a lot of dread in certain cases about doing this, because it can be taxing figuring out. I don't have a metric, and I don't think Jacob or Travis, we've talked about a metric that says you completed or you didn't complete it with this one, or what is facing your death to you. The spirit of it is to have something in place so that if you get hit by a bus tomorrow, your loved ones can kind of figure out your wishes, get access to your bank, deal with your house or your apartment or whatever. Like, there's some things laid out that just say, here's where my stuff is, here's who I am. But I think it's safe to be a little sentimental with this one. If your jive is like, well, yeah, I've got some stuff, but I've only got a week. You're not going to put together your last will and testament in a week, likely, and I don't think it's fair for us to expect that out of each other or whatever, to get all your legal documents in order. I think it's also fair in some cases to just write, like, one of those videos you do, like in the movies, where they're like, if you're seeing this video, it must mean I'm dead. Here's everything I want you to know. Something like that. If you want to take it that angle, I don't think that there's anything wrong with approaching it from that aspect. Unless either you guys want to veto that idea.
No, I don't think that would be. I think that would the whole point here is to evaluate your current situation and where you're at.
Mhm.
It may not necessarily be to take the final steps in and crossing the T's and dotting your I's on the will, but it could be something as simple as going, something, I got a lot of shit in my house, a lot of shit in my house, and I need to get rid of it because somebody, if I were to get hit by the bus tomorrow, somebody's going to have to take care of this. And would that somebody be me, or should it be somebody who's grieving?
Mhm.
Right.
I mean, so
Yeah.
I'm okay with taking this a number of different ways.
Yeah, yeah. So, and we even talked last week. Somebody asked about a bucket list of things they want to accomplish before they pass, and that was kind of like, well, it's not really. You're not dying. You're not really dealing with your actual death. You're dealing with your life. Like, what do I want to do before I get done? Um,
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's the whole get busy living or get busy dying type of
yeah, yeah,
statement.
right. And
Yeah.
I mean, maybe that's something you do. I mean, there's no real official judging world going on here, but I think it's something to consider. Like, what I better have a plan. When am I gonna accomplish these things? I think Jacob, that was your take. Have your bucket list, but have a plan. Like, if that's
Yeah.
what I'm gonna do before I die, when am I gonna do it? What are my dates? What are my plans? So you put in a little bit of effort into defining that bucket list. I'm nervous about this one. I'm a procrastinator by nature. It is what I do, and I will procrastinate until I'm laying in a hospital bed with wires in me going, "Don't forget my password is," and then I mumble it, "Come
A
closer,
B.
get real
Oh.
closer, 1, 2, 3, 4," and that's I don't want to be that either. And something like this is encouraging to say, get your butt in gear. Write down your passwords for your wife so she can get into the bank account. Because I mean, she can get it anytime she wants, and I've said it millions of times. I need to give you the password if you. Oh, don't worry about it right now. We'll get to it later. Like, I'm trying to hand over all the keys, and she's like, "We'll do it. We'll do it in a little while. I'm busy." So it's like
This
sitting
week is
down.
later.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
week is later. It's officially later, and it's time to do it. Travis, what are your feelings on this one? Where's your head going?
Well, I mean, this is actually even a little bit more poignant for me with recent events that happened. So it's something I'm gonna definitely have to really reflect on and really think about because I don't have currently a whole lot really prepared. Um, it's not something that I've ever put a lot of thought into. I've joked plenty about just getting up tomorrow and stepping off a curb, getting hit by a bread truck, and who knows what would happen. But I haven't really sat down and thought about it. So this one's going to be interesting, I think.
Yeah, yeah, Jacob. I know you're dreading it. What's got you hung up?
Um, this is always just going to be a tough one because you see what is missing, you see what's lacking, you see what's needed. And having a plan of attack is one thing, but executing said plan of attack is something completely different, right?
Yeah,
And, it's also, I haven't updated my stuff since William was born. So I haven't had the opportunity to do any of that. Do I tackle that? Do I tackle the self storage unit I've got in my basement, essentially? Do I tackle other things like bank accounts or LastPass passwords or what? There are so many different ways that I personally could take this that I don't know exactly where I want to go. And I know there are some people out there that probably feel this way, but when you have too many things that you feel like you have to try to accomplish, um, it becomes overwhelming and you go, oh, shoot, where do I even start? And I think that's where people are going to have to try to overcome some of this is that it may seem daunting, it may seem overwhelming because you may have a lot of stuff in your analysis. Whenever you look at it, you go, shit, I got too much stuff and I got to create a last will and I've got to do my medical stuff and et cetera. All of that kind of becomes overwhelming. Um, but start somewhere and start small. And I think that's what this week is going to be for me is let go through that analysis process and then figure out a place to start because I do have quite a bit of updating to do.
yeah.
Where
Um,
are you? Where's your head at, man?
uh, I think my first thought is like, make sure all the bills are covered. I think that's one thing that keeps me, because I do most of that, or it's automatic draft and I don't have to think about it, so I don't really I don't really bother Stephanie with it because she's got enough going on with like all this other thing she deals with. So I'm just like, I'll take care of that part. I'll just take that as my job, you know. But there are definitely gaps. So mainly it's gonna be sitting with her. Like, what do you know how? Like, what do you know comes out, and what do you know where it comes from? And it's not that I've never been open about it. We're not the 1940s. Like she has access to everything I have access to. It's just you naturally split into tasks, and one of those tasks just fell on me to worry about the taxes and stuff. So I just do that stuff. And I wanna make sure, like, do you know what this is? Do you know? Because you make a lot of assumptions. We've seen this in our own lives. Jacob and I like, you know what that is. I've told you 87 times, and it's like, well, not really. If you did, like, it's in brief passing. We were riding in the car, you know, and I don't want that to be the legacy. It's like, well, he said he told me, but I don't remember. So I want to write all that down. And then some of it I kind of want to split it in like, this is tangible. Here's things that are going to be necessary, and then there's like that heart piece of it. You know, like I'm kind of an emotional dude, and I've read Randy Pausch's The Last Lecture. You know, and there's some good heart in the idea of leaving a note. You know, just leaving a note. Like the things that you would say, you say all the time, but you want to just establish like this is truth. I'll never forget watching an interview with Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart, D.L. Hughley. It was D.L. Hughley was talking about Bernie Mac, and when Bernie Mac died a few years ago. And D.L. Hugo was sitting down talking about how tragic that was to him. And he's like, I never got to tell him I loved him. And the interviewer was like, oh, he knows. And he said, no, he does not. I didn't tell him. And I think about that a lot. Like, that struck me real hard. Like, I didn't tell him. And it's like, well, he didn't tell you either, but he's gone now and can't, you know. But if you'd wrote a note that said, like, here's what you mean to me, even if you didn't get the chance to share it. Anyway, I know I'm getting real sappy, but that's like that's what I think about. Like I'm horrified that I would leave somebody without the closure to know that I care deeply about them, or that I hope they wish them the best and all that good stuff. Like I'm not around to see it, but I hope you have a great time. That's kind of where my brain goes. I get real wispy when I think about it. But Travis, to your point, we're not meant to think about this all the time. If people thought about dying all the time, we'd never do anything. So you're not alone in the, well, I don't give it much thought. No one does. I had a guy tell me one time, you're never dying until you're dead. And he's right. He's absolutely right. But yeah, so it's gonna be intense for me, I think, as well. But I hope everybody else has a decent time giving it a go. Don't be hard on yourself. Just do your best and tell us what you went through. Don't be afraid to be vulnerable. And if your email needs to be anonymous, just say so, and we will not say your name on the thing. If you want it to be like, I told everybody to screw off in my goodbye note. Be like, that's fine. I won't say your name. Just let us know how you feel. But yeah, man, this has been a good show. Go ahead, Jacob. I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say, and it may not be something negative to folks. It may be something positive where you can flip it on its head somehow and say, something. Yeah, this is a positive thing. Look at this. I got my accounts in order. I got my passwords all set up. I got my LastPass password over here. It may be a very if you're an analytical type person or an organized person, this may be right up your alley to say, something. I'm organized with it now. So it may give you an opportunity to flex those muscles, but I'm not expecting it to be any kind of jovial experience. I'm definitely expecting to have some thoughts, and I'm excited to hear where people go with it next week. I'm maybe not necessarily excited about some of the somber emotions, but I'm definitely excited to hear where people go with it.
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
I agree.
absolutely. If it spins completely positive for you and you think it's awesome, I'd love those too. Everything. I mean, this is life, man. This is how we live it. This is just a little bit of a stretch we're going to push ourselves for. So hope you all enjoy the quest. Show's going well so far. I've had a good time. I'm looking forward to more. The bracket is live over there at legionofdorks.com if you want to see the upcoming challenges, or at least the titles, which may not explain everything. So no spoilers. We go to legionofdorks.com, go up to the shows tab, side quests, and the bracket. And it's available for you to scope out what we're going to do. The 2-mile journey, which is the one where we get driven 2 miles away blindfolded and have to find
Yeah, I
our
was
way
gonna say,
home.
what's next week?
Yeah, that one's been moved forward. So the next week's challenge, we didn't announce that yet.
No,
OMG, I
we
had written it down and
gotta
everything.
open the poll, baby. Open the polls.
I got to open the poll. Thank you, Jacob. This is why Jacob's the producer. Next week's challenge, the poll that will be opening is between drawing something every day and sharing it with people.
Yes, and sharing it.
And sharing it with the side quest group or your friends or Instagram or whatever. And then between that one and writing reconnection notes. Or did we agree phone calls was okay if you wanted to call somebody up and talk to them if you don't have their address or whatever?
If you don't have their address, I think that's okay.
I
I
have
mean,
a
the
lot of
point
people.
is reconnection, right? So if a
Yeah.
phone
Yeah.
call is necessary, then great. But I think the spirit is to kind of reconnect and get away from that kind of instantaneous technology type of gratification and really, think about somebody. I mean, I got a note from somebody yesterday that I haven't talked to in a few weeks, and they said, "Man, I've been thinking about you." And last week, I don't know why, but I really thought about you guys quite a bit. Just giving you a heads up, miss you guys. And it was a great note, and I think that's the spirit that I'd like to see um, uh, this challenge take, as opposed to, well, I made a couple of phone calls to some old college buddies and we talked drinking. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you're talking about like good friends who you haven't seen in a while, good sincere reach out.
Yeah.
To say, like, I've got several people in mind already that I'm like, I haven't talked to you in a long time, and you pop in my mind, and I haven't said anything, and we need to pick back up where we left off and see how things go.
And maybe it's not a full reconnection. Maybe it's
Sure.
just to let them know you're thinking about them, and just let them know that they're being thought of. Because I got to tell you, it was nice to know that this friend was just thinking about us.
Yeah.
He hadn't met William yet, so he said he was thinking about William too. And those kinds of things are just, to me, it's just nice. I maybe we'll reconnect, maybe we won't, but it was good for just for me to know that somebody else was thinking about us.
Yeah. So there's your quest. We'll be opening up the poll after the show closes for drawing something every day for a week and
And sharing it.
reconnecting with and sharing it and reconnecting with old friends or old people that you knew and just appreciate and want to tell them you're thinking about them. I think those are two really great quests to go on. I'm excited to do either one.
I am
But
too.
we will fill you guys then on how Facing Our Deaths goes next week on SideQuest. Be sure to send us your emails, dearsidequest@gmail.com. We want we want to see how you do. And
Yes.
we'll see you guys next time. Bye. Nice.
All
In the
right.
bag. In the bag. In the bag.
Yeah, this is
Another one bites the dust.
this will be quite the challenge, but
Yeah, man.
it's also getting the Band-Aid off. And getting this one
Yeah.
kind of I don't want to say out of the way, but kind of out of the way.
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, for the day that we started talking about these, I